The storm rolled in just after nightfall, drenching the quiet suburban street in sheets of cold rain. Lightning cracked the sky every few minutes, throwing long shadows against the rows of identical two-story homes. Inside one of them, Jessica Turner sat curled up on the couch with a blanket and a half-finished cup of coffee, trying to focus on the book in her lap. Her parents were out of town for the weekend, visiting relatives in Chicago. Jessica had insisted on staying behind. She was 20 years old, in college, and used to being alone. The family house in Maplewood, a quiet middle-class neighborhood, felt safe enough. Safe, at least until tonight. The power had already flickered once, plunging the rooms into a moment of complete darkness. The old wooden beams creaked with every gust of wind, and somewhere in the distance a dog barked at nothing. Jessica told herself it was just the storm. Still, she couldn't shake the uneasy chill crawling up her spine. She glanced at her phone, only 18% battery left. She hadn't bothered plugging it in, thinking she'd be asleep early. The digital clock on the wall ticked toward midnight. That was when she heard it. First faint, then unmistakable. A scraping sound against the front door. Jessica froze. Her book slipped from her lap. At first she thought it might be a branch scratching the siding in the wind, but then came a sharper metallic sound. Like a key being forced into the lock. Her heart began to hammer. She muted the television with shaking fingers and strained to listen. The noise came again. Someone was at the door, trying to get in. Jessica's mind raced. Should she call 911 right now? But what if it was nothing? What if she sounded foolish? She tiptoed across the living room, holding her breath, and peeked through the window. A shadow stood on the porch. Broad shoulders, hood pulled low against the rain. Lightning flashed, and in that split second she saw a glint of metal in the figure's hand. A knife. Jessica staggered back, heart thundering. The doorknob rattled. Then the door creaked, slowly, inch by inch, until it swung open. A man stepped inside, tall, masked, dripping wet. He closed the door behind him with deliberate slowness, then stood in the hallway listening, knife dangling from his fingers. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. She crouched low and ducked behind the couch. Every nerve in her body screamed to run, but if she moved too quickly, he'd hear her. The floorboards groaned as the man stepped deeper into the house. He didn't call out, didn't speak a word. Just the steady sound of his boots squelching on the carpet, and the knife brushing against his side. Jessica bit her lip so hard she tasted blood. She had two options: stay hidden and hope he left, or try to take control. She remembered something she'd once read. Sometimes confidence could confuse an intruder. Her voice shook, but she forced it out. You picked the wrong house. There's a police patrol right down the street. The man froze. For a moment, silence stretched between them, broken only by the storm outside. He tilted his head slightly, as though considering her words. Then, without a sound, he turned toward the kitchen. Jessica took the chance. She darted silently to the counter and grabbed the small jar of chili powder her mom always kept near the stove. Her hands trembled, but she clutched it like a weapon. The floor creaked beneath her foot. The man spun instantly, eyes glinting through the mask. Jessica didn't hesitate. She flung the powder straight at his face. The man roared, clutching his eyes, knife clattering to the tile. Jessica bolted for the stairs. She scrambled up 2 steps at a time, heart slamming against her ribs. Behind her, the intruder stumbled, coughing, then gave chase. His heavy boots slammed the floor as he lunged after her. Jessica burst into her bedroom, slammed the door, and twisted the lock. She grabbed her phone, 11% battery now, and dialed 911 with trembling hands. The operator's calm voice answered. 911, what's your emergency? There's a man in my house, Jessica gasped. He's got a knife. He's chasing me. Please, you have to send someone now. Stay on the line with me, the dispatcher said firmly. Officers are on the way. Can you lock yourself in safely? Yes, bedroom. He's outside the door. He's trying to break in. A thunderous crash rattled the wood as the intruder hurled himself at the door. Jessica screamed. Listen to me, the dispatcher said. Stay calm. Help is on the way. Do you have anything heavy to block the door? Jessica shoved her desk against the frame, then her dresser, grunting with effort. Another slam shook the hinges, but the furniture held, for now. Units are en route, the voice in her ear reassured. 3 minutes out. 3 minutes felt like a lifetime. The police arrive. Red and blue lights painted the rain-soaked street as Maplewood police cruisers screeched to a halt outside the Turner home. Officers spilled out, guns drawn, flashlights cutting through the storm. Inside, the pounding on Jessica's door suddenly stopped. Silence. Then the sound of a window shattering downstairs. Jessica clutched the phone tighter. "He's trying to get out. Stay where you are," the dispatcher ordered. Boots thundered against the porch. The front door burst open. "Police, drop the weapon!" Jessica held her breath, straining to hear. A deep voice barked commands, followed by a violent scuffle. Someone shouted. A crash. Then finally, silence, broken by the hiss of police radios. A knock came at her door. "Jessica Turner? It's Officer Ramirez, Maplewood PD. You're safe now. The suspect's in custody." Jessica sagged against the wall, tears spilling down her cheeks. Relief washed over her in waves. Slowly, she unlocked the door. Downstairs, the masked man was face down on the carpet, hands cuffed behind his back. Officers stood around him, weapons lowered but ready. The man didn't struggle, didn't speak. Just lay there, breathing hard through the fabric of his soaked mask. Detective Mark Holloway arrived minutes later, trench coat dripping from the storm. He crouched beside the intruder. "Won't say a word," an officer muttered. Holloway studied the man's eyes through the mask holes. Cold. Empty. No sign of panic. Just calculation. He turned to Jessica, who sat trembling under a blanket. "You did the right thing calling us. You probably saved your own life." Jessica nodded weakly. "Who is he? Do you know him?" "Not yet," Holloway admitted. "No ID, no wallet, just a knife and gloves. Looks like he knew what he was doing." The house became a crime scene. Cameras flashed as officers photographed footprints, the broken window, the knife. Evidence bags filled quickly. The storm raged outside, but inside the air felt still, suffocating. By dawn, the intruder was hauled into a squad car, still silent, refusing to give even his name. The police promised Jessica they'd run his prints, dig into his background, find out why he'd chosen her house. Detective Holloway placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now, Jessica. He's not going anywhere. Whatever his reason, tonight was his last job." Jessica forced a small smile. Exhaustion weighed on her, but relief finally began to seep in. The storm clouds broke, and pale sunlight spilled over the quiet street. Neighbors whispered on their lawns, watching as the last cruiser pulled away. Inside the Turner home, Jessica sat at the kitchen table, staring at the shattered glass and overturned furniture. Her hands still shook, but she was alive. She had faced the darkness head-on and survived. And as the house slowly returned to silence, one thought echoed in her mind. Sometimes the scariest battles aren't fought outside in the streets, but behind a locked door.